Hello everyone. So today I'll be talking about inflation and deflation as well in the economy. So right now we are seeing inflation in prices like the price of energy, like the price of oil, for example, gasoline, petrol and stuff like that. So as you can see, the price of crude oil is about $110.30 for WTI. For Brent crude, it's about $112.50 per barrel. And it's up pretty significantly from last year. Last year was about 70, maybe about 70 bucks or something, $72. And it went up almost 35% almost. So this translates to higher food prices and stuff like that, because food has to be transported. It costs money to transport stuff, so that just translates to inflation. So there's a lot of other stuff that are going up in price. If you order anything, I guess they are jacking up the shipping rates. Let's see, price of natural gas. Natural gas is down a little bit. Gasoline is up. Heating oil is down a little bit. Just looking at energy, basically. Let's look at it at 5 years. Well, it spiked up considerably from 2019 when it was $4.30 per MMBTU, and it's about almost double right now, so that's pretty significant. Let's look at soybeans from 5 years ago. It was about $959.25 per BU, and now it's $1,705.30 per BU. And that's up 43% over the past 5 years. Wow, quite a lot. Let's look at the price of wheat in the past 5 years. 390, let's say about 425 per bushel. And today it's about, went up almost 63%. Wow, that's a lot. Because that explains why food prices are going up so much. Look at the price of coal. That's another energy resource. From 5 years ago, it's about $97.70 per ton. It's $417.25. That's up 76.6%. Wow. Everything's just skyrocketing in price. Let's look at iron ore. This is what is used to make various types of alloys and steel. From 5 years ago, $62 per ton. Okay. That's a 50.7%. Okay. So all the inputs to manufacturing has gone up quite significantly, as you can see here. Let's look at steel. From 5 years ago. Let's pick that. It's 3,500 per ton. Okay. Today is 4,796 per ton. So it went up about 27%. Went up modestly. So let's look at the stuff that's not going, that's actually gone down in price. Well, we have stuff like speculative assets, like cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, for example. That's a speculative asset. Well, it's gone up a lot since 5 years ago. 2,500. Gone up 91%. However, if you compare it to the highs, when it was at its highest point at almost $64,000, it has gone down 54%. Let's look at stocks. Let's look at the Dow Jones from year to date. So it's down. This is for the whole index. See how much this is down. Down about 14.5%. Okay. But let's look at individual stocks. Like Tesla from year to date. So stocks are pretty speculative assets. They're not highly speculative assets. See how much Tesla's down. The index was 14.5%, but what I want to see is how much this is down. The individual stock like Tesla is down 44.7%. Year to date. Let's look at Amazon stock year to date. See how much that's down. That's down about 36.9%. So individual stocks are down more than what the index, than the Dow index, right? Let's look at another thing called Carvana stock. This was going to change the way that people were going to buy automobiles. So year to date, see how much this is down. Seems like it's down pretty significantly. It's down 85, almost 86% from a year to date. From the beginning of the year to now, that is. Let's look at Uber stock. This was supposed to be the transportation company which was supposed to revolutionize the world. See how this is doing. Year to date, of course. It's down 46.9%. So a lot of these stocks are down more than the index. The stock market index. And I think I want to look at one more. Let's look at Boeing stock. Year to date. This is an aircraft company. They make passenger jets. They're down about 41.9%. Okay, so I guess people aren't going, they aren't going on vacations and stuff like that as much. Let's look at AMD stock. They're down a lot too. This is a computer company, a company that makes computer CPUs, semiconductors. See how they're doing. They're down 37.7%. Intel is down. This is another company like AMD. They make CPUs, semiconductors. They're not down that much, about 21.7. Let's look at Apple stock. This company makes Apple computers. They make stuff like smartphones and stuff like that. Electronics, computers. They're down about 24.4%. Okay, so we have speculative. This is a very big speculative asset called the Terra Luna cryptocurrency from, I guess, year to date. At the high of the highs, it was $117.26. Okay. They're down about 99.9999%. So almost 100%. Practically worthless. A very speculative asset, something called a stable coin. What's supposed to be stable, but it's obviously not stable. So it seems to me that the financial bubble has popped, and all these speculative assets seem to be going down in price. Let's look at the price of homes. Price of homes in the price of homes have gone up a lot, actually. This is the average price of homes in the United States. In some states this could be more, in other states it could be a little bit less, but this is the average price. So it went up about 9.8%. But that's comparing it to 2020. Now it's 2 years ago. But now we'll be looking at 2022. The highest is Hawaii, $615,300. Okay, so anyways, the price of homes has gone up a lot. That much we know. Because people need to live in homes. They need a place to live in, right? So the price of utilities have gone up. So let's see what has gone up. The utilities went up. Fuel is up. Interest rates are up and going up. What else has gone up? Price of homes are up, but this could go down when interest rates start spiking up. In the future, we could see it go down in the future, but so far in the past 5 years it has gone up. In the past year maybe it's gone down a little, I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like it, it's still going up, but interest rates will determine that in the future, so we shall see what happens in the future. So what else? So the prices that are going down, stuff that people don't need, like I guess the price of electronics will probably go down, like as you can see with here. Price of a GeForce RTX 70 can be had for about $599, and this is available, as you can see. This you can buy $699.99 for 3070, that is. And I bought my 3060 OC 12 gigabyte about 2 months ago, and I paid $513.99. So at the peak of the graphics card craze, a card like this was selling for over $1,000, maybe as much as $1,200, but it's down so much. So let's see how much that is. $599.99 and $1,200 from, let's see, a year ago. It's down about 50% in relation to that price. In relation to that price, I should have just waited so I could have bought this graphics card. Fortunately, I was just impatient. Let's see. So this is down 41.7% from a year ago. So graphics cards going down, I guess big screen televisions going down, because people don't need that to live. And the big thing is but the price of oil is going up, therefore the price of gasoline is going up. Here I live in California, and I paid about maybe $4 per gallon about a year ago, maybe, and now I pay about $7 a gallon. In some places, it's depending on where you go. I guess the lowest I paid was $6.50 per gallon. That's quite significant. It's up almost 42.8. And in relation to that, so it's up from 38.4 to 42.8%. In 1 year, the price of gasoline has gone up. I guess if you don't have a lot of money, if you're not rich or anything, a spike like that will probably be a big deal for you. But if you're rich, it doesn't really matter. You know, the price of food and the price of energy, utilities, none of that really matters, because if you're making, like, you know, let's say you're making about $250,000 per year, higher food and energy prices don't matter at all, compared to a person who's making about, let's say, 25,000 to maybe 45,000 per year. You know, to a person who's making less money, the price of energy and food is going to matter. But to someone who has a lot of money, who makes a lot of money, it doesn't matter, because I really don't pay attention to the price of, like, gasoline or food. I just buy it and that's it. I don't even look at the price. But if you don't make a lot, then I guess every nickel or every dollar does kind of like count. But and this is also for countries too. You know, like if you live in a poor country where people make about, let's say, $5 to $10 per day, then the price of food going up and energy going up could be the difference between starving and surviving. So these people are just surviving. You know, if you live in a wealthy country and you make about, let's say, $100 to maybe $250 per day, the price of energy could impact you, but I don't think you're gonna starve to death. You can cut expenses. You know, you can cut a lot of different expenses. You don't have to have you don't have to buy that new smartphone. You don't have to have Netflix. You know, you don't have to go out and eat every weekend. But for people who are living in the third world, they're not spending any money on luxuries. They're just spending the money to just survive, right? It's just subsistence. But for people here, you can make cuts. You know, cuts in monthly expenses. So if you have 4 members in your household, everyone has a smartphone, you can say, hey Tim, you're not going to have a smartphone. We can cut that out. Or, hey Jill, you know, if Jill is your daughter, you can say, hey Jill, you can't have a smartphone or something. Or I'm not going to pay for your smartphone bill every month. And you can cut stuff like, well, there's a lot of stuff you can cut, and stuff that you don't need, right? You don't have to buy a car every 3 years. You could extend that to maybe 8 years. You could buy a car every 8 years or something like that. Yeah, so here you live in you have a lot more stuff here if you live in a wealthy country. You live in a house that has indoor plumbing, it has electricity and everything. Very good. If you have a vehicle, here you don't have anything. But that's the difference. You could still cut stuff and you could survive here. But if you have a lot of debts, too many debts, too many expenses, too much exposure, speculation. Then if you have too much of this, then, and you have like fixed debts, like mortgages and stuff like that, car payments, then you will become homeless. That will lead to homelessness if you have too much of this. But if you live within your means, you have savings. If you have savings, no debts, and very few expenses, then you will be okay. You will be okay. No problem. Not at all. You will be able to live in your home, and if you have a stable job, and if you have a stable source of income, you'd be okay. And even if you lost your job, if you have the savings, you are a-okay. You are a-okay. No savings, job loss, you are screwed. You are screwed. That's it. So, as you can see from what I showed you, expenses, if you have money saved up, you could buy a lot of the stuff that you want or wanted on sale. And if you don't have any money, then you cannot take advantage of those opportunities. So that's my 2 cents. So, and in conclusion, the price of stuff that you want and don't need will continue to go down as we go into a recession. And the price of stuff that you need, which will not be affected by interest rates hike, because that is not in the, because interest rate hikes cannot curb the price of shortages, which are not caused by artificial means. So an artificial thing would be like the Federal Reserve or a central bank lowering interest rates so that people can buy homes, right? That's artificial, right? Control of interest rates can affect mortgages. It can make the cost of affording a house more difficult, because the monthly payment will go up when the interest rate goes up, right? And people aren't going to be able to afford that. So as a result, the price of real estate will have to come down because less people can afford it, which means there's less demand, and that means the price of real estate must come down. But the interest rates will be very high. So if you have the cash, you can buy the house outright. But there's a trade-off, but that's a trade-off. Lowering interest rates could enable people to spend more. They could use debt to buy stuff like credit cards. They could use debt like car loans. That's a debt, and that would create demand for stuff, right? But if there's war or something outside of the control of interest rates, that would be something like shortages caused by war, supply chain issues, supply chain issues, like what we're having with, which was caused by the CV-19 lockdowns and stuff like that. That's not something the Federal Reserve can control, right? Or central banks can control. They can't control that. Or shortages of materials and raw materials, or just shortages of raw materials, right? Shortages of labor. These are the things that the Federal Reserve or central banks can't resolve. So during wartime, you see all kinds of shortages, right? You see a shortage of food, you see a shortage of finished manufactured goods. People are being killed, maimed, people are being sent to the front line to fight. So you don't have as many people working to produce stuff, staying on the farms and growing food. And that causes shortages. And that's why you have shortages in war. And plus, things are being destroyed, right? Seaports are being blocked. Supply convoys are being destroyed. So that's causing shortages. Stuff isn't being produced. Stuff isn't being transported. So war causes shortages. And supply chain issues like we're having now. We have a backlog of materials to ports and stuff like that, and that's causing shortages. We have that lockdown in China and stuff like that because they want that zero COVID policy. And shortage of materials, like natural resources running out. Fed has no control over that. They could hike up interest rates to 100%, and if there's no if there's no oil or a bauxite or something, or iron ore, then it doesn't matter. Or if the stuff isn't being produced, then it doesn't matter how much the Fed increases or lowers interest rates. It's not going to matter. Because there isn't anything to be had because it's not being produced, or you can't get it out of the ground or extract it out of nature. Or if there's like some kind of weather change or something where crops aren't growing much, or a lot of crops are dying, the Fed has no control over that. That's caused by weather, right? Nature is causing that. So what do I see coming down? Let's say a year from now, or 2 years, 6 months. We will see inflation. Inflation will happen, and you will see it in food, energy, some raw materials, some finished goods. The finished goods that are necessary, like chips are necessary. We need them in automated factories. In the West, you have a lot of automated factories. You have semiconductor chips in cars. You have semiconductor chips in farm equipment. You have them in construction equipment, like Caterpillar bulldozers and other construction equipment. You have them in tractors, combines for farmers, other farm equipment. You have them in automated processing plants, manufacturing plants. Manufacturing plants are highly automated. They have robots. They have microcontrollers and everything else, computers, and they need it. Data centers need semiconductors and chips for various types of network equipment, which also uses chips, servers, workstations, and stuff like that, computers, you name it. They need that. And this equipment has to be regularly replaced, right? That's what people aren't thinking about. You know, tractors have to be repaired, trucks have to be repaired, so they can send materials from one part of the country to another part of the country, so that you would have stuff in the supermarkets and retail stores and stuff like that. And farmers would have to grow this food, and it would have to be sent to a processing plant, which is automated, requires chips, parts, and stuff like that. And that is transported on a truck, which also uses chips and parts, and that goes to a wholesaler, and then the wholesaler sells it to the wholesaler or distributor sells it to the retailer, and that's how you get your stuff, the goods and stuff that you use, basically. So we'll see inflation in this, but we will see deflation in stuff you don't need, stuff that are luxuries, right? So the average person in the West could cut out a lot of things, unnecessary things that they don't need. Like, for example, I was thinking about buying a car next year, but I really don't need it. The car that I have right now is good enough. It could last me 5 years more, so I'll keep it until then, and then I'll buy a car later when it gets really old and when I start having problems with it. Right now I don't have problems, so I'll just keep that car. I don't have to buy a new smartphone. I was thinking about buying one this year for about $1,200 or whatever, but I don't need it, so I'm not going to buy that either. So it'll be nice to have, but I certainly don't need it. I don't have anything like Netflix, because all the stuff that I watch is just on the internet. And the stuff that's on Netflix, in my opinion, just isn't very good. And for families, they can cut out stuff too. They don't need to buy that big screen television. That's not necessary. You don't have to buy that. The computer that you have is probably good enough. You won't need to buy it. Though I bought one last year. Yeah, but I didn't need it, but I bought one last year. I bought a new one. In general, and also you may not need to buy that barbecue grill, put it in your backyard. The one that you have, maybe you may say, you know what, honey, this is good enough. We'll just keep that. We won't buy that new Grillmaster 8000 or whatever. And pretty much it. And I don't have to eat out every week. You could just simply cook at home. That's a lot cheaper. I mean, that's a luxury. Nobody has to eat out all the time. Besides, if your finances are strained, you're not going to be able to eat out anyways. Most of that money is just going to go into paying your utilities and buying fuel for your vehicle and stuff like that. That's basically it. So we'll see deflation as well for stuff that you don't need. You may not need that Cartier luxury watch, right? I mean, that's stuff that you buy, or that Gucci bag if you're a lady or whatever. You don't need that. That's unnecessary. This is stuff that you buy when you have a lot of extra money, and also speculative assets will go down. So this is stuff that you invest in when you have extra money. And if you don't have extra money and your employment prospects don't look good, then I guess you won't be investing in speculative assets. And when you see a lot of these speculative asset bubbles popping, the incentive to do that would not be there. People usually do these things when they have extra income, and if they don't, then they don't do it. They don't have to do it, or they will not be able to do it. So anyways, I'd like to hear about your thoughts. You could leave it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching by Ace 1000 Chaos 1975.